and even over in the Old Testament, then they that feared the Lord spake often one to another. The Lord hearkened and heard it, and a book of remembrance was written. There seemed to be something about togetherness that attracts Jesus' attention. Perhaps the reason we miss the message of the Lord in our churches sometimes and in our families is that we don't reason together, we don't come together, we don't talk together. These men reasoned together, and Jesus the Christ joined them. And he asked him a question. He already knew the answer. He said, what is this that you are talking about? What is this that is causing you to be so sad? What is this you're discussing that's got you so troubled? Jesus already knew the problem. He already knew what they were talking about. And he already knows what's going on with us. He already knows our problems. He already knows our troubles. He already knows our disappointments. He already knows our despair and our hopelessness. But he wants us to tell him what's going on in our lives. Perhaps that's what our forefathers was telling us when they said, let us have a little talk with Jesus. Let us tell him all about our trouble. He already knows, but he wants to hear us say it. Well, Cleophas started talking. And this is one reason why we believe that his partner was not Simon Peter. Because if Peter had been that other disciple, there was no way that he would allow Cleophas to do all of the talking. But Cleophas started talking. He poured out his sad heart to Jesus. He talked about how Jesus of Nazareth, who was a prophet in word and in deed, that was supposed to redeem Israel, told him about how Jesus had died. And 3 days later, he was not back. He told them how there had been talk of a resurrection, but there had been no evidence, no sighting of a risen Christ. And after listening to Cleophas explain what the problem was, Jesus said to them, I understand what's going on with you, as if he didn't already know, but he explained to them. He said, you are slow of heart to believe the scripture, O ye fool. Now he was not calling them a fool in the sense that we sometimes call people fools. He was actually saying, O ye foolish one, you are slow to believe. He was saying to them that the heart of your problem is the problem of your heart. You have a problem believing the scripture. You are disappointed because you don't believe what Moses and the prophets said about Jesus. You came with your own thoughts and you came with your own ideas. You came feeling like you knew how it was supposed to come out. But you have not believed, yes, what the scripture says. And I believe when he said Moses and the prophets, that he explained to them something about that first gospel message that Moses delivered. in Genesis 3 when he said, the Lord said, I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. And he shall bruise thy head, and you shall bruise his heel. The spirit of the text indicates that Jesus probably explained to them some of the verses of Isaiah 53. He was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquity. The chastisement of our peace was upon him. The Lord laid upon him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. Jesus was saying to them, you saw him having glory without the cross, but the scripture says his glory would come through the cross. You saw him as a conquering redeemer of Israel, but the scripture says he was a suffering Savior. Your problem is that you saw him one way. You are disappointed because you expected one thing, but the scripture said something else. You just didn't believe what the scripture said. The exposition and explanation of the scripture became emancipatory to these two disciples, for it lifted them up out of depression. It lifted them up out of sadness. It lifted them up out of hopelessness, because their hearts began to burn. Their hearts began to burn with conviction. Their hearts began to burn with belief in the scripture. Their hearts burned so much that as they continued to walk, and they came to the evening of the day, and Jesus was going on the journey, they asked him to stay. Don't leave us now. Our hearts have been stirred. We want to know more. Don't leave us now. They invited Jesus into their home. He stayed with them. He sat at the head of the table, letting them know that he was Lord of all. And while he was sitting at the head of the table, their eyes came open and he revealed himself to them. The word had convicted them. The word had opened their hearts, and they wanted Jesus to continue with them. And when their eyes came open and they realized that he was the risen Christ, it let them know that they had not made a mistake. Let them know that they had signed up with the right person. It let them know that they were following the right person. It let them know that they had come with false expectations, because they did not see him as the scripture had described him. Whenever we come to Jesus with false expectations, we will get disappointed. We're going to avoid being disappointed in our Christian lives, as was these men. We must see Jesus as the scripture described him. We must see him as a king, setting up a spiritual kingdom, where he is the suffering Savior that reign and rule in the hearts of men. If we're going to avoid being disappointed, we must not expect, to be kings and potentates in the kingdom. We must not expect to have titles and positions. If we're not going to be disappointed, we must not expect to have honor and high seats. We must not expect to have control, power, and authority. If we're going to avoid we must be willing to be suffering servants in the kingdom of God. Suffering servants to a hurting world. Suffering servants to a sick world. Suffering servants to an oppressed world. If we are not going to be disappointed, we must be willing to proclaim the good news of the risen Savior. We must be willing to tell a dying world, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. When these two men's eyes came open, when they had an experience, a personal experience with the risen Savior, they made a dangerous journey at night back to Jerusalem because they had some news to tell. They went back saying, yes, we signed up with the right person. Yes, Jesus is the winner. Yes, Jesus is the conquering King. Yes, Jesus is who he said he was. He did rise on the third day. One of my favorite stories is about a young lady that got disappointed with the life she had in her grandmother's house. So she went away from her grandmother's house. She went back out into the cold world, that lonely world, that sorrowful, sad world. But while she was down there, her heart was convicted. And she decided that she would return to her grandmother's house. She arrived at the grandmother's house late one night. She found the door open. It frightened her. She thought somebody had broken in the house and harmed her grandmother. She rushed in, found her grandmother sitting in the chair. And with fear, she said, "Grandmother, your door was left open." And grandmother said, I know it was open. She said, "Well, grandmother, why did you leave the door open?" She said, "Daughter, I left it open just for you. If there is anybody listening today that have gone away from Jesus, you've turned your back on the church. You've turned your back on the cross. You've turned your back on the living Savior. You've turned your back on the conquering King. Jesus is waiting for you.